Got one. Yep. It's running straight to the river, dude. Holy smokes. Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, I'm gonna be teaching you how I retrieve my spoons and my crankbaits when I king salmon fish off the piers. So the first thing that is gonna help you out a ton is if you've got a 3/4 ounce spoon. For any 3/4 ounce spoon, my favorite retrieve is actually a medium to slow retrieve. So when I cast it out, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm keeping my rod at a 45-degree angle, but up, so that I can feel that spoon flutter all the way down to the bottom. Typically, the spoon will drop 1 foot per second. So if you're fishing in 20 feet of water, you want to wait at least 20 seconds. If you're fishing 15 feet of water, you want to wait at least 15 seconds. But the biggest thing is if you've got your rod tip pointed up and you're slowly reeling down as that spoon's fluttering, you'll be able to feel it actually hit the bottom. And in my opinion, that's the key. Feel it hit the bottom, and then as soon as you're down, start slowly retrieving it back in. Now I'm just popping it off the bottom to get it unhooked, but now I'm doing like a nice and slow, here let me switch sides so you can see a little better. Now I'm just doing a nice and slow retrieve, just slow enough to feel that spoon wobbling back and forth. And I will also point my rod tip directly at the spoon like this. And you should be able to feel that spoon wobbling real nice. And every so often, let it pause and go back down to the bottom and then slowly bring it back in. But then I like to vary the retrieves. If you end up not getting bit when you're fishing really low in the water column, I like to slowly bring it up. So instead, say if you're fishing 20 feet of water, I'll count it down to 18 feet. So wait 18 seconds roughly, and then I'll do my retrieve like that. And then I'll go all the way up. Sometimes I'll retrieve it right as it hits the water. But the key is to just find where the fish are at and what speed they want that day, because every day is different. So that's for a KO wobbler type spoon or another type of 3/4 ounce little Clio or a 3/4 ounce moonshine. But if you're fishing a jigging spoon, that's when I like to lift up and drop. So a lot of times on my jigging spoon retrieves, you'll notice that I lift my rod completely up and let that thing flutter all the way down. But I also like to vary my retrieves on that. Sometimes I'll lift my rod 6 to 12 inches. Other times I'll lift my rod 2 to 4 feet. It all kind of depends on what I'm feeling, but I think it's really smart to vary your retrieves so you can figure out what they want that day. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is the crankbaits. So I'll show you 2 crankbaits that I really like, but the retrieves are fairly the same. Cast this out as far as I can, and typically I'll take my rod and I'll do a sweep just like that to get it down pretty deep, and then as soon as I get it going, I just keep my rod tip really low to the water but pointed at the bait so that I can feel that thump, 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 and then I'll pause it, let it float up for typically 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, and then I'll keep it going again. And believe it or not, with these crankbaits, I've noticed most of my bites come after I change the speed. Whether I speed it up, slow it down, or pause it altogether. I will say, when I do fish a walleye diver, these baits, let me show you which bait specifically I'm talking about. When you fish a walleye diver like this, these have a really wide wobble. So with these, I like to cast it out and do that same sweep with my rod tip to get it down really deep right away. But then I'll do a super slow retrieve. I'll slow it down as much as I can before I actually stop feeling it and it's just floating up. So like get it just going just enough. And honestly, That seems to work the best for me, but whenever I'm out there, I always vary my retrieve. I'll probably fish it slow 60% of the time, but the other 40% of the time, I'll be reeling it in fast, slowing it down. So basically, the key is to vary the retrieves. Don't get married to one specific cadence, even if that's how you do get bit. But I will say, the more confident you feel, the better. So if you end up getting bit more when you're going slow, fish more slow. If you end up getting bit more when you're going fast, go fast. But in my opinion, a medium to slow retrieve is money for both the spoons and the crankbaits. And I will also say, don't overthink it. Believe it or not, these fish are actually not that smart. They will eat just about anything and any retrieve. You just have to be persistent enough and stay out and keep casting. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is fighting the fish. When you're fighting a fish, it's really important. When you set the hook, as soon as that fish is hooked on, they're either gonna run straight at you, or they're gonna run straight out, or they might run to the left or the right, or they just might shake their head. But honestly, the best thing that you can do is make sure that that rod is pointed straight up, and if they decide to swim to the left, you point your rod to the right. If they decide to swim to the right, you point your rod to the left. You always want your rod at about a 45-degree angle, very, very bent. You never want to let these fish get any slack line when you're out there. When your adrenaline is pumping like crazy, which is going to happen when you hook up with a king salmon, you don't want to reel against the drag. If the fish is pulling out, you'll hear this. And if you're hearing that, you do not want to reel. You want to keep your rod pointed up, keep it bent up, and make sure that that fish is stopped at least running before you start reeling. But then if you notice he's coming at you, that's when you start reeling. You always want that rod tip bent, and if they start coming at you, that rod tip is going to go straight if you're not reeling. So you want to make sure that you're reeling when they're coming towards you, or when they're staying in one spot and just going to the right or the left. Is when you're fighting them, you want to use your rod and pump up with the rod and then reel down. That way you're able to use the rod to your advantage to bring that heavy fish in. The last thing I'm going to talk about is casting distance. So a lot of guys ask me what rod is best for casting distance, and I know I mentioned this in the Salmon 101 video, but still I'm having a lot of guys ask me, and so I would recommend a 9 to 10 foot rod out there, maybe a medium heavy or a medium action. You want a nice backbone, but you also want a fast enough tip so that when the fish grabs the spoon or crankbait or whatever you've got and starts running, that rod absorbs really nice and easy for you. I think that's everything. If you've got any extra questions, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to address them in the future. But hopefully this helps you land more king salmon, and I'll see you out there. Peace out.